Call the vote.
Call a vote?
Call the roll, I said. I'm nervous.
That's because he's got to do the.
I haven't been here in 2 weeks. I'm a little nervous here.
Mayor Bain,
Yeah, I'm here.
Vice Mayor Best,
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Here.
Councilwoman Zapata,
Present.
Councilman Petrolano.
Here.
Please stand for
Jamie, you too,
invocation.
huh?
Lord, my prayer tonight, I hope it's good. Bob told me that sometimes they're not so good, but I hope today's a good one. We thank you for overseeing our city and to help the individuals that need care, and hope that we have a nice, successful council meeting in the best interest of the city of Miami Springs and their citizens. Amen. Pledge allegiance, right hand over chest, hats off. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, that was good.
Hey, all right. I feel better now. Okay, we first business is we have a presentation from the Miami Springs Police Unit Citation Award presentation.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Hi, Chief.
This unit citation goes to the uniform release shift as well as the dispatchers for the uniform release shift, so I'd like to call them all up. Officer Vargas, Officer Figueredo's not here tonight, Officer Helfner, Officer Garcia, Officer Collins, Dispatcher Luane Mendoza, and Dispatcher Cynthia Fragas.
You want to come up, stand right in front of us here.
April 4th, 2019, approximately 4:25 in the afternoon, they were dispatched to a single vehicle accident on the second floor parking garage, 700 South Royal, Poinciana. Upon arrival, they observed the white Lexus hanging from the second floor of the parking garage. The vehicle was occupied by a female in the driver's seat who was in distress and in fear for her life. Due to the positioning of the vehicle, officers had to react quickly in ensuring the driver remained calm and still, so the vehicle did not move, nor any bystanders were in any position to be seriously injured. Officers arrived on the scene less than a minute after being dispatched. They began to immediately talk to the female and keep her as calm as possible until she was able to be extracted from the vehicle. In addition, they quickly secured the scene, preventing any vehicle or persons from entering the garage. Any type of vibration from a vehicle exiting the garage could have caused the vehicle to move and possibly fall forward. The officers also blocked off roadways, moved vehicles that were in harm's way, and were vital in helping Miami-Dade fire rescue teams entering the scene position their vehicles and equipment efficiently. Along with our officers, dispatchers Cynthia Fraga and dispatcher Loe Mendoza also played an intricate role during this call. They both maintained a calm, reassuring demeanor and performed the duties with extraordinary level of skill and focus. They both seamlessly coordinated the response of all our officers, fire rescue personnel, and any other assets needed on this critical scene. Dispatcher Fragas and Mendoza's actions were supportive to personnel on the scene and key to the overall management of this incident. At the close of an hour-long operation, fire rescue personnel were able to enter the vehicle through the driver's side rear door, recline the driver's seat, and extract the driver safely without her sustaining any injuries. A short time later, several large, heavy-duty wreckers were able to pull the vehicle out and lower it safely to the ground. Responding officers, a quick response, immediate actions in securing the scene, coordination with Miami-Dade fire rescue personnel, and outstanding professionalism from every officer on the scene resulted in the successful rescue of the lady trapped inside the vehicle. So with that, we are presenting the unit citation to the relief shift and the relief shift dispatchers. You know, it's not often that we have, as a matter of fact, I believe this is the first time we have our dispatchers here for an award since I've been here. And this needs to be, you know, and I fall to blame just as much as everybody else, because we can't do our jobs without them. And when we're out there in the heat of the situation, they remain calm, they give us what we need, they give us the support that we need, and they are our lifeline. So ladies, thank you very much for being there, for having our backs from the inside and giving us what all the support that we need. Congratulations to all of you. Tom, no picture for the paper? Okay.
You got it?
Somebody will get it.
You're not too far away.
Erica?
You're not too far
Somebody will-
away, are you? Come on up.
Somebody will get it and send it to you.
That's a nice contrast, the nice white and the black in the back.
Tell you what, I'm gonna take one too.
Doesn't want to pay. Hey, Tom, you cutting expenses or what? You cutting expenses?
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
I'd like to say something real quick. He's standing back there, our Lieutenant Deal's back here. He was the commanding officer on scene. He's our lieutenant. He's our shift lieutenant for relief shift. He was on scene with all of us throughout every single step of the way. And he also was a big part in everything that we were able to do, getting the lady out. He was definitely there. He doesn't like all the attention, but we definitely want to give him some credit as well. And thank you for being there with us.
All of a sudden, we got a speech man, huh? Huh? All of a sudden, a couple of words, and man, he's talking all the time.
Actually, the commanding officer
That's it?
should be the one to give the speech.
What do you want to do? What you have to do now too, instead of waiting in the agenda? I think you should finish. Well, you got them all here.
Yeah.
What do you? That's it, right?
Yeah,
You're done.
no, but I have some things on the agenda. I
Oh,
thought that's
okay,
what-
but nothing to do with the officers. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have now I have to give the award for the Yard of the Month. Josefina Gonzalez. Josefina Gonzalez of 501 Swan Avenue for their home being designated Yard of the Month for May 2019, presented this 13th day of May 2019. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Do you
you.
want to say anything? Sure.
Well, I am so glad somebody has noticed all the time I spend taking out the weeds and watering the plants when it doesn't rain, only on the days I'm supposed to water them. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
First and Sunday.
I didn't do that. Didn't touch it. Okay. All right, now we go to open forum, and we have one person to speak. Laney Silver.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Bain and members of the City Council. I'm Lainey Silver of 931 Dove Avenue. I'm an animal advocate and the director of Community Pet Rescue, a community service nonprofit organization here in Miami Springs. I come before you this evening to specifically address two city ordinances that are outdated, unnecessary, and counterproductive, and I'd like to see them removed from our municipal code. Section 9002, keeping of animals prohibited exception, and Section 9003, number of cats maintained. Since these ordinances were passed in 1954, a lot has changed in the stray cat world. TNR, trap, neuter, return, is a familiar catchphrase. Low and no-cost spay-neuter is more widely available. No-kill shelters and rescues are a growing reality, just to name a few. Stray cats are now recognized as community cats and are considered free-roaming in Miami-Dade County by the animal welfare community. While they're not always welcomed by all, they are a fact of life. TNR efforts are recognized as the way to reduce the number of cats on the streets by those involved in humane animal care. Our organization manages and feeds many cat colonies in the community. They've all been spayed or neutered and are fed daily to minimize any negative impact on the community. This also ensures that if new cats show up, they'll be trapped for spay-neuter. I can cite many examples of how effective this has been here in Miami Springs. For example, the first colony I personally TNR'd was at the senior high school. There were originally over 40 cats there. They have all since passed on. A second example is in 2010, a woman called us because she had received her 3-day eviction notice due to foreclosure. She left 29 cats behind, which we spayed and neutered all of them, including the 3 pregnant ones and the litter of kittens that were on the roof when she left. There are 4 cats left in that colony now. At this time, the real issue is people dumping animals. If we could somehow stop that, I would not be here this evening. For those familiar with our organization, you know the different city departments, other community service organizations, and individual residents call us whenever there's an animal issue in the city. And we do our best to provide positive outcomes. Over the years, there have been animal problems brought to the attention of city management. In our experience, conservatively, at least 80% of the time, the primary issue is not animal related, and the animals are pawns in a larger disagreement between neighbors. The 2 ordinances I referred to earlier are in direct conflict with the new norm. There's an enormous push nationally to reduce euthanasia rates and focus on humane solutions. Because of our extensive involvement in the community, we've been forced to create facilities to house some of the cats that could not survive on the street. These facilities are well maintained by our volunteers. All cats are completely vetted initially, and if health issues arise, they receive additional vet care. Properly maintaining these animals takes a lot of man-hours and financial commitment, but we do this willingly as a community service. I don't believe anyone wants to see animals killed for convenience. I certainly hope nobody in this room wants the blood of these animals on their hands or their deaths on their conscience. So basically, when the city enforces these codes, it's a death sentence for these cats. Not to mention the others that come to people's houses that they feed out of the goodness of their hearts. If they're caring for more than 3, well, they must go. And there is no place for them to go. The shelter will not take them because they're deemed unadoptable, and it would increase their euthanasia rates. Not to mention that they're usually overcrowded and there's no space. The county has made it illegal to relocate cats as well, as you can see by the handouts I've provided. I was raised in a time when my neighbors, my community, was my family. We all knew each other, looked out for each other, and generally took care of each other. I'd like to see Miami Springs return to that type of culture, where neighbors work out their differences together. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I come before you this evening to ask you to find it in your hearts to let these members of our community live out their lives. If there's an issue with residents not wanting cats on their property, let my organization mediate to create a win-win outcome. I also propose that we be proactive. Instead of involving the arm of code compliance to issue warnings and citations, let my organization work with our city employees on the street from code compliance, public works, and the police department to get to these problem areas before they become a problem. Please kill these ordinances and let the animals live. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. This completes open forum. Thank Delaney for coming up, giving us that information. We go to 6A, April 22nd, 2019, regular council meeting. I need a
Through the chair, motion to move.
I'll second it.
call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petralano.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. We have no reports from boards and commissions, public hearings, consent agenda. We have A and B.
This is a recommendation by Public Works that council authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Distributors, Inc., utilizing Miami-Dade County Contract Number 7661-5-19-4, which is attached in the amount not to exceed $40,000 for the purchase of the street tree planting and planting of street trees, as funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to 31E5 of the City Code. For the 40,000 included in is the 40,000 include the $25,000 previously budgeted in October of 2018 and the $15,000 that council recently agreed upon at the March 25th meeting for the Neat Streets Grant Program for tree planting for fiscal year 18-19.
And B?
And then B, this is a recommendation by the Police Department that council approve an expenditure in the amount of $76,130 to Safe and Sound Customs Corporation, the lowest responsible quote, after obtaining 3 written quotes attached for emergency equipment for 11 of the 2019 Chevrolet Tahoes, as funds were approved in the fiscal year 18-19 budget pursuant to Section C2 of the City Code. The purchase of the emergency equipments are for the 11 2019 Tahoes for the police department. The quotes are attached, and then the quotes are attached.
Okay.
Motion to
entertain.
approve,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
motion to approve consent agenda items 9A and B is read.
Second.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Beck.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, we go to 11, new business, 11A, resolution.
How about 10A?
Yeah, they were good.
It's not on my paper, but that's, 10A is for the Optimist?
The Optimist.
Go
yeah.
ahead, 10A. I don't have it on my, my paper.
You have it?
No, but it was emailed to us.
They came in late.
It came in, yes. I read
That's
it.
my fault because I forgot to talk to the clerk about putting on the agenda.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I brought something for everybody to see.
Free ticket? You bought free tickets for us?
Tickets to a ball game?
I emailed the police chief, Public Works, like you requested in reference to the price, the cost for having the full closure and the police for that day, like we have in the past. And the Public Works was the same price from last year. And then I also, I asked for about the tints, to help us with the tints. The cost is on that final page, and I highlighted it. We will go ahead and pay for the chairs and everything else, but we were requesting if the city could help us with the tints. The only reason we're asking is because there's only a few volunteers. We used to have a lot more people, and it's a lot harder to put up those tents. Our tents are real big, and it's a lot of time, and it's a safety issue too now, because I don't have that many people. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Big community event. We're gonna make it family friendly, like we always do. We don't charge any of the kids to go in the bounce houses. We're gonna have games out there for the kids. It's a big barbecue family event. You know, we want everybody in the community to come out there and have a good time. That's what it's really about. And what I would like to do, if the council allows me, when we get all the funds together after the event, I would like to give all the kids, all the groups a check right here at City Council. We want to show the community that we are here for the kids. And last year, I think we gave out to 8 groups. We gave every group a $250 check. Our goal is to reach $10,000 in profit that day. Half of that money, we will give out a check right here in front of everybody and bring the kids here. That way you guys can see that we are very involved in helping the kids in the community, because that's what we do. And that's basically it. It's pretty simple.
Through the chair, if I might, Tony, thanks a lot for, seldom do we receive such a comprehensive report on something that has occurred. I thank you for that.
No problem.
And I also thank you for everything you do for the Optimist Club.
No problem.
And the $1,140 that you're asking for, I don't think is anything that we should shy away from.
Well, I understand we have 2,000 dedicated in the
In
budget.
this
for
year's
the-
budget, there's 2,000
2,000.
dedicated for the barbecue, yes.
Okay, and then they're, from what I understand, they're asking for
1140, I think it is.
11. Yeah, but no, it comes to 3,090 here.
How much are you asking for, Tony?
Yeah.
Well, in the past, the city has helped with in-kind donation for the police and the public works. They would cover the city would cover that cost. The only thing extra we're asking is just the extra tent for the tent cost. That's all, to cover that as well.
Which is 1140, correct?
Exactly.
So in the past, Mayor, if I may, in the past, the city has donated 2,000 in in-kind services?
They would help
Correct.
provide the services for the
Right.
police
And
department
so now you're asking an additional 1,000 this year
for the tents only.
for the tent?
Yes.
which-
If you can. If you can't, I totally understand. Obviously, it helps us out because it's a lot for us to do.
It's a labor part of having the physical labor that you
Exactly.
don't have.
We
you
used
don't
to put
have
it up
the-
ourselves.
You don't have the volunteers.
But we don't have the
and-
volunteers.
and
It's just
optimists to
basically
put it up.
4, I could tell you right now, it'll be 4 to 5 guys that always go out there and help us out. But I can't do it anymore. I have ankylosing spondylitis in my spine. I've done it in the past, but I just can't do it anymore. So
At least he's not wearing a cast like Carl did the last
We
time.
covered it up.
yeah.
Carl was going to try to make it, but he's still working, so I'd stroll around.
Does he still have a cast?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Let me ask you, you still have the tent, correct?
We have 2 30 by 60 tents, but we're trying not to put those big tents up there because it's hard to put up. That's why if you look at the quote, it's the 20 by 40s, which is easier to put up there. And Fiesta Carousel would go out there and put it up for us.
Because what I was thinking, William, I don't know if it was cheaper or whether to go this route or maybe get Public Works to help you put up the tents.
When you see those tents, Public Works is probably going to say, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Whatever's cheaper, I'm thinking.
Normally, we pay Fiesta Carousel just to put them up for us. It's $600 a pop just to put one tent up. So it's a lot, you know. It's a lot of work. It takes a couple hours to do that.
I think that when we look at what the Optimist provides this community, it really is always reflective of what we want this community to stand for. You know, involving families and benefiting children, and so
That's not the question here. I mean, we're trying to figure out what the best way, cheapest
but-
way of doing it, putting it up.
But if
We're
you're
not-
saying it's $600 a
Per
pop
tent.
for the other ones,
So
and
it'll be like $1,200.
so it would actually be more, and so I just don't.
Well, how much would it cost us
You-
to?
You have more than 1,140 in your council's circle events budget right now. I could tell you that providing Public Works will probably cost more because it involves overtime.
Right.
Plus, on top of that, you have benefits and all that. So,
That's what I'm
you know,
asking.
for $1,140, I'd rather they do it themselves.
Mayor, you're looking for a motion?
Second.
You have it.
Got first and second. Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata,
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
By the way, last year it was a blast, and we had it, not this called a barbecue blast. It really turned out really nice. We had a real nice time, and a lot of participants, and a lot of people want to participate this year. So, cross our fingers for good weather.
Tony, how many years you been doing this now?
It's going to be our 8th year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That many are?
Yeah.
Wow. Where did it all go?
I'm sorry, you were going to ask me?
Mayor, if I may, you mentioned that afterwards you would split the proceeds with different kids organizations.
I always do. That was part of I'm in charge of the barbecue, and the only reason I'm doing this is because we have to guarantee that 50% of everything we make goes to the youth groups.
Is that youth groups associated through the Optimist Club or other
It could be
youth
any
groups?
youth group.
So if
somebody
if a
needs
youth
money,
group
the
was
Boy Scouts, we've given it to the Boy Scouts, Civil Air Patrol, the baseball team, the football team. We even had somebody from
The wrestling team?
the wrestling team. We had
So-
the fencing team from nowhere. They asked for. We barely ever say no. So if somebody locally, the women's club or somebody, we've done. The Optimist Club is actually. I had a kid that from the soccer team, the high school team, that would walk all the way from Alapata, and I was asking the kid why are you showing up late? Because I used to coach the high school soccer team. So the kid, I had to work overtime peeling onions, and I felt so bad for that kid. So I asked the Optimist Club, let's do, because there was a family of 6 and they lived in one little apartment. So we took them on a shopping spree at Milam's. We bought the kid 2 shopping carts worth of stuff. So when you see that type of stuff, that's what we really do it for, you know. And then also, we give out free bikes the day of the barbecue. I would love for all of you to be there to see the kids' faces when they get these free bikes. We're going to give out 4 this year. I've already got a sponsorship for 2 bikes. We're going to buy 2 more, and we're going to give out a lot of free prizes to kids. So
And they also got a donation of $3,000 to buy all
somebody donated, was kind enough to donate $3,000
wonderful.
to buy all the meat, which is about the cost.
Tony, so if someone is involved in a community youth organization and they would like to participate or
They
for
could
you,
come-
they
they could
would
call
reach
me and
you, they
we'll-
would reach out to you.
Yes, and any youth group that ever wants to do a fundraiser in Miami Springs, they're allowed to use the Optimist Club for free. We've never charged anybody. If it's a nonprofit kids organization, they're allowed to use the club for free. We don't charge them anything as long as they clean up. So we do a lot for kids, you know. That's what we do. So
Tony, while you're
Thank you.
here, through the chair, if I might, what happened with that essay contest?
it was actually this Saturday. Carl was in charge of it. I
No,
couldn't make it.
I
but
know. His
yeah.
brother and I were supposed to be judges of that, and it fell apart, I guess, in the 11th hour.
I know they did something at the Rebecca Sosa Theater. I think there's something else going on after. I really don't know much about it because Carl was in charge of it. I could actually have some information sent to you.
Have Carl
about
give me
that.
a call if you would.
I will.
Thanks.
I will.
Thank you, sir.
Again, thank you very much. Thank
Have
you.
a nice night, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Be careful out there. We go to new business. 11A resolution.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, providing for the Third Amendment to the fiscal year 2018-19 General Fund and Special Revenue Funds and Capital Projects Funds and Enterprise Fund budgets to record proceeds from the vehicle and equipment auctions, record savings from not holding an election in 2019, reappropriating fund balance to fund grant match for a new senior center bus, cost of the new lighting at Prince Field, cost of paver parking project at the Curtis Median, and additional funding for a stormwater project, and providing for an effective date.
A motion?
Motion.
For discussion for a moment, if I might, sir, through the chair. In deference to the mayor, because if you recall, in a previous meeting a couple months ago, I guess it was, or a month and a half anyway, this came up and we had a go around on it, and we elected to throw it back in the general fund. When I read this agenda item and the backup material to it, I reflected on that, and I got to give it to you. 2 of the 3 things that are on there, you wanted to do that night.
Well, I mean,
no,
still come. It don't matter. It's Peter from Pay
it
Peter
do-
Pay
it
Paul,
is.
but
It-
I
it-
know.
but it's
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
motion to move the item, sir.
I'll second it.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata,
Yes.
Councilman Petrolinda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. We go to 11B.
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving a mutual aid agreement between the City of Doral and the City of Miami Springs to ensure public safety by providing adequate levels of police services, providing implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Explain what this is for, because you got a couple of them here.
Chief?
It's a renewal, excuse me, renewal of a mutual aid agreement between the City of Doral Police Department and our police department. We've had it in the past. It's expiring, and it's just a renewal.
Okay.
Whereas if they request assistance from us in some manner, we can do it legally, and vice versa.
Gotcha. I'll entertain a motion.
Can we go ahead and ask about the other 2? My question was, I know we have South Miami and Sweetwater.
Yep.
Are these all already existing mutual agreements, or any of them are new?
The only one that's new is South Miami.
Okay.
But it's the same premise.
Correct.
And what other, just out of curiosity, what other cities do we have mutual agreements with?
We have Miami-Dade Police, we have City of Miami, we have Miami Beach, we have Hialeah Gardens, Medley,
Gardens.
Virginia Gardens,
Okay.
and I'm sure I forgot to name several others that we have. It's common, most police departments do it.
And this involves, it has to be a really catastrophic situation, or?
Not necessarily. For example, on occasion, Doral will say, "Hey, we have a road construction job that we can't staff it. Can one of your officers, sit there with the car, the overheads, just for visibility, and things like that?" So, yes, it's meant for high-end situations, but it's also meant for some normal day-to-day activities. As you mentioned to me this morning, our car that was at Virginia Gardens over the weekend, that's what it was, basically mutual aid, supporting them with the incident they had in front of their city hall.
Chief, is there an exchange of money when this happens?
No. None.
Motion to move forward.
Through the chair, if I might,
Give me a second. Give me a second.
you got a second.
And, okay, discussion.
Can we do all three at once?
That's, read, okay, go ahead.
Want me to read all of them?
Yeah, to take away the motion, we'll go ahead and make a motion for all three of them.
Withdraw my second.
Okay.
Okay. 11C, a resolution of the City of Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving a mutual aid agreement between the City of Sweetwater and the City of Miami Springs to ensure public safety of providing adequate levels of police services, providing implementation, and providing for an effective date. 11D, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving a mutual aid agreement between the City of South Miami and the City of Miami Springs to ensure public safety of providing adequate levels of police services, providing implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, go ahead and make your motion for B, C, and D.
Motion to move A, B, and C.
B, C, and D.
B, C, and D, excuse me.
Second
Excuse
that.
me.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolano.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes, we go to just, E, a discussion.
11E,
11E.
we have received the actuarial report for the police pension plan for fiscal year 1920. The city's pension costs for next fiscal year will decrease to $454,081 compared to $525,186 in the current year. This will be a savings of $71,105 for next year. The decrease in costs are due to the excellent investment returns experienced by the plan in recent years. The current union contract that ends September 30th of 2020 calls for police to contribute 12.5% of their salary to the plan. Staff is recommending lowering this rate to 10.5% for the final year of the contract. This reduction will cost approximately $52,000. Since the total savings is $71,105, the city will still recognize a savings for next year of $19,105. When we begin negotiations for the new contract next year, the pension contribution structure goes back to the cost-sharing mechanisms that we have always had in place. If council approves this recommendation, we can begin preparing the MOU required with the union, as well as the revisions to the city pension ordinance, so that this change can take effect on October 1st of 2019.
Okay.
Through the chair, a question for the manager. This is a one-year reprieve.
This is for the final year of the contract.
Right.
Correct.
And in effect, this will show good faith going into collective bargaining in the next round?
Show good faith and help us in recruiting, because one of the things we've always had in the city is the high contribution rate of the pension plans.
Sure.
And we're getting down now to the level of 10.5, which is what Coral Gables is right now also. So we want to be a little more competitive.
That's all.
When I first started, I never thought about retirement and things of that nature, but the young folks that we are recruiting, we go to the police academy and so on. It's amazing how they're asking about that. What kind of retirement system do you have? What kind of retirement plan? What's the contribution? So they're doing their homework too.
The kids are getting smarter.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move 11E.
I'll be happy to second that.
Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolano.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
We go to 11F.
Okay, this is a 11E or, I'm sorry, 11F. So this is a recommendation by Finance that council awards city RFP number 03-1819 to Grand Salon Receptions Hall and Ballrooms as the most responsive and responsible proposed food and beverage operator, and authorize the execution of a 5-year contract for the food and beverage operation services for the City of Miami Springs Golf and Country Club commencing July 1st of 2019. Discussion. The city advertised the RFP for the food and beverage operation on March 21st, of which 31 Operators were notified of the opportunity to bid. On April 3rd, the food and beverage operators were recommended to attend a pre-bid conference and a site visit, and 6 different operators were in attendance, which is attachment A. On May 1st, the city received 3 responses, which is attachment B, and all were considered responsive. Responses were evaluated, which is attachment C, by the selection committee team, which was Paul Odell, the golf director, Omar Luna, the recreation director, and Andrew Plate, which is a corporate executive chef, along with Tammy Romero, the assistant city manager overseeing the procurement procedures, and Grand Salon reception halls and ballrooms was considered the most responsive and responsible proposed operator based on the final rankings by the committee. On March 25th, council agreed to set a special meeting on May 29th to hear from at least the top 4 ranked proposers with 2 alternates. However, we believe that it is obviously clear that Grand Salon not only has the expertise to run a food and beverage operation, but has proposed to provide the best overall revenue and capital improvements to the city. With this being said, does council still wish to hear presentations from the 3 respondents?
If I may. Yes, I really reviewed all of them, and they were all very good. I just feel that we need to be very diligent in getting this right. I think that it's important that whoever gets this contract attract both residents in Miami Springs as well as people from the outside, so that that country club that we have can be the jewel it deserves to be in our community. And so I would really like to hear presentations from the final RFPs.
Mayor, if I may, I have a question. And I don't know if I can ask this now, but with the selection committee, I have some questions regarding the grading.
Well, why don't we, let's make the decision whether.
Of whether to have it.
We'll do that if we're gonna go to that. I'd like to know the decision.
Well-
I'll be honest, frank with you, I'm not ready to make I was playing under the same program that we were gonna have the presentations on the 29th. I did not remove this because I'm waiting for the 29th. So I agree with the councilwoman here that we should have the 3 come and do a presentation on the 29th in a special meeting, and then all these different questions can be asked and answered.
Well, part of my question for the grading is in view of your
Can I get a
request.
motion? Does anybody agree to?
Well, could we, Bill, could we continue to listen?
Well, I'm not ready to vote on this tonight,
I
period.
understand, but can I ask a question regarding the grading committee?
Okay.
Okay. And I guess it's regarding, I don't know if Tammy, if you can answer this, or William, or perhaps Paul. I noticed in the grading itself, out of the 3 candidates, there were 2 that were pretty close in category 1 and 2. Where they differed significantly was in category 3, which is the revenue proposal. And so I guess my question is, as far as the revenue proposal between the 2, that's a proposal. How confident are we that their proposal will closely match the reality of what we're expected to see? Because in the other 2, the operational business plan and the experience and qualifications, they were very close from the grading. William, does someone have information as to that, as to how closely you expect it? Because the revenue proposal to me is what I say I can make that doesn't necessarily meet reality.
I mean, it's their contract, so if they break the contract, then they would be, then we'd be back in the same boat
So
as
we would
we
be
were.
back in the
Yes.
same boat.
So,
So,
but these are the revenues that they've proposed to us
Right.
based on
Right, that's what I'm
questions that they
saying,
were
that
able
it's-
to ask at the pre-bid meeting, based on the site visit. I mean, I answered, I want to say 97 questions in an addendum to them. And so they were able to ask anything. We provided the revenues that the country club currently earns from, the food and beverage operation, from the sale of liquor, et cetera. So we did provide that information. So I feel comfortable that they had enough information within the RFP and within the responses through the addendum that they were able to propose the proper revenue. Now, whether or not they're going to continue to fulfill that for a 5-year period, at this point, there is no guarantee
On either of them.
on any of them. So,
And I guess that's my point that I'd just like to mention to council is that in that part where they got the highest grading, the top two, that's really their proposal, and really that's the situation we got to in the last time of, they're saying that they can meet a certain thing, and then the reality wasn't they couldn't. So anyway, that's my point. I'd like y'all to keep that under consideration, and I have no problem with moving, with waiting till the 29th or whenever to hear from all three, or at least the top two.
Yeah.
Through the chair. I just, your questions are very important questions, Councilwoman Mitchell, and I respect you for asking that. But I'm just wondering why we're asking these questions here as opposed to the time that we are meeting with the people that can respond to us. This is more for us understanding than it is for the general public in terms of the revenue piece. That's a question that really could have been answered outside of the dais, that's all.
The reason I'm doing that is because this is the only time I can communicate with you and with the rest of the council, and I want to make sure that
No, I
you've realized the
understand
difference
that, but I
between the
don't
two.
think that you're communicating with us. You're posing a question that maybe we've already posed as we met. Like I, for myself, have already met the day after we got this at length with the city manager and the assistant city, and asked all of these questions. So it's not really for us because I've already asked this among other questions.
Through the chair, if I might say, I don't feel that this is fair to lay on the administration in terms of making a selection. I think for sure, I totally agree with everything that was just said relative to the fact that we need to put this into the public sector here and into transparency and allow it. We were the ones who made the mistake last time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that to happen again. So I fully agree with the both of you that we should entertain this and have it in front of the public, back and forth exchange, and we can question them on anything we want to that night. I really believe
Right.
that to be the right way to go.
And
Yeah.
that's where the public will be greatly informed as well. So.
Okay, so we're sticking with the same 29th.
I'm good with it, sir.
Okay. Right. We go to 11G, this discussion of the Prince Field Playground relocation.
This is a recommendation by Recreation Department that council approve an expenditure to Leathers and Associates, Inc. as a sole source provider in an amount not to exceed $344,718 for option 1B or $456,618 for option 1A. The funding for the playground relocation will need to come from the designated fund balance until such time as we can secure the financing of the construction of the new senior center facility, as this was not budgeted in the fiscal year 18-19 budget. Discussion. The Prince Field Playground will have to be disassembled before the demolition of the new senior center. Once the playground is disassembled, it will be stored until such time as the new playground can be reassembled. The new playground will be relocated completely to the east of the property with a similar layout and a larger footprint than the current one. The contractor for the construction will clean and clear the ground surface, grade and level it, and add proper drainage for the center. Due to the layout of the new senior center, the whole project will have to be done in 3 phases. The following are the 2 options discussed above. Option 1A, which is the one for $456,618. Phase 1, Leathers and Associates will disassemble the existing playground and safely store the current playground features and materials in storage to be reassembled at a later date. Phase 2, the selected contractor for the construction of the new senior center will add the required drainage, level, and grade the area, and add a security fence outlining the construction site so that Leathers can begin reassembling the new playground while construction of the center continues. Phase 3, Leathers and Associates, Inc. will reassemble the playground after Phase 2 is complete, using the majority of the disassembled pieces with the exception of the new swings, as the current swing beam cannot be used again. Option 1A includes poured-in-place rubber safety surface. The relocation comes with minimal impact to the existing playground. The only immediate impact will be that the current swings will not be able to be relocated without jeopardizing the integrity of the structure. Leathers and Associates, Inc. will be installing 6 new swings as part of the project and will be using as much of the old materials as possible. The playground will meet all necessary safety standard guidelines, and it will meet all ADA requirements. Now, option 1B for $344,817, this option is the same as option 1, with the difference being that this includes a wood fiber safety surface instead of the poured-in-place rubber. The funding for the playground relocation, as I mentioned before, will come from designated fund balance until such time as we secure the financing for the construction of the facility, and the fund balance will be replenished. I have George Ferrer here from Bermeo and Ahamil, and Omar, in case you have any specific questions on this.
What was the number on that, Willie?
Excuse me?
What was the relocation number and the reinstallation number?
The price?
Yeah.
Option 1B is $344,718, and option 1A is $456,618. The difference being, I know Omar has been a big proponent of not using wood fibers and using that rubber, poured-in rubber surface. It lasts longer, requires less maintenance, and with wood fibers, every couple of years you have to be replacing it. So.
That would, basically you're saying that your recreation director is recommending one.
Recommending right, Omar?
1A.
Yeah, one. Okay.
How you guys doing? Happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, it is more expensive, but the reality is that it's about $15,000 every about year and a half to 2 years that we have to do the mulch. The mulch works at a smaller site plan like we have at PV Dove because we can rake it ourselves basically, not on a daily, but almost weekly. But that footprint is so big that if you go by there now, it's just spread out everywhere. It becomes a huge maintenance problem for us. At the same time, it's not the safest surface that we can have. Now, it's the playground mulch is certified. It's perfectly fine for those type of playgrounds. But for the long term, since we're doing this as a full project, I'd recommend going with the pour-in-place surface. It plays a lot better. It's a lot safer for the kids. It's just a better play surface. Obviously, it costs more money because it's a better surface, and that's just what I would recommend for the long term. It could last anywhere between about 12 to 15 years. If you do 15,000 every 2 years, give or take, you're almost paying itself. It pays itself off.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I have a question for George.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council.
I'm reading this correctly, that once the building is demoed and down, the playground can be put right back in place while they're building the building.
Once the improvements to that area where the playground is, with all the drainage and regrading that needs to take place, the fence will come up, and then Leathers can come in and install and begin installation of the
So in other words, the playground can be there while there's construction of the senior centers going on?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the demolition and all that, but once that area's been improved, then
right.
yes, the playground can come in.
And is that going to be a priority after it's demoed to get that so you have a structure, so that would be a priority to get the playground back in place?
Correct. We had discussions with all the bidders, mentioning that it was number one priority when we started. Make sure it's coordinated and it's in the schedule to happen up front.
Okay. Thank you.
We're looking at probably reopening the playground maybe 2 to 3 months.
Discussions with Leathers, how long it would take them. It's a matter, the initial part is with the contractor.
With the contractor.
Once we have the contractor in place, we get their schedule, they'll tell us how long it's gonna take for them to do that initial part.
And you can answer it better, yeah.
And then we'll be able to give you a better answer to that. And then after that, once he's got it set up, then Leathers will take the time that they need to assemble everything.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, I have a question. When you finish.
One more thing.
No problem.
It was suggested to me by somebody in the audience. There's no, as you're talking about this, and I'm doing this in respect to you, as I see it now, there's no way we can move that playground somewhere at an interim basis to keep it functioning. But then I don't know if we would come up to the compliance of having the ground that you need to have to do it. But
most of the cost that you see here.
I'm thinking about keeping.
No, I know, but most of the cost that you see here is labor. This is very labor intensive. Taking it apart, storing it, and putting it back together. If we were to take it and move it, you have to pay for the cost of removing that, putting it somewhere else, then taking it out and reassembling it in the
Okay.
senior. The cost would be astronomical.
Okay, I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
I have to ask the question.
I know.
And, but I understand that too. But then, as I see about the bottom, the mulch, and then if you did relocate, you have to redo that, all that too, for safety reasons. So I don't know if it would work. So it was it was something to be asked, and I asked it. And as I see it, I think the best way is the way it's proposed. The question is, do you want to spend what you want to spend on it?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Omar, the safety surface, this plastic safety surface, do we have that in the PV?
No, we
field
don't.
right now?
At PV, we have the mulch.
The mulch?
At Stafford, we have the artificial turf. Actually, Virginia Gardens has the pour in place. So if you want to go somewhere to see what it would look like, that would be a good
Do
site.
you know, I know with some of this, and I agree with you, the plastic is much more as far as maintenance and, other issues. My only concern is I know in some cases, it's very, very hot. And I don't know if you're aware of that, but some kids, actually can burn their feet on it if they're without shoes. But I'm guessing at this area we have enough shade that we really don't have it in an area when we relocate it.
One of the things we're discussing is getting our safe structure for the area. But the new pour in place, the one that we're requesting, it's a little bit more expensive because it's supposed to be more sun resistant. There are cases, yes, where in recreation they've gone a little bit cheaper and the surface does get hot. I won't deny that. That has happened in some cases. However, I've spoken to Leathers and I've told them that I want something that's not going to happen. That doesn't mean it's not going to get kind of warm, I guess, but not where it'll burn a child.
Well, not where it would, and
Correct.
I think that that's an important thing, that whatever we have that has been tested, so
Correct.
that we don't get that type of heat.
But there's been cases of what you're saying.
Yes, I
and-
know.
correct.
And the other thing, of course, would be to have signs saying to keep your shoes on, but, that's obviously, kids
Right.
take off their shoes
My
there.
daughter loves taking off her shoes in the playground. I have no idea why.
Any other things? Go ahead.
Do we need to decide on whether we want to go with one or the other tonight? Because we can wait until later on to see what the initial cost.
No,
of
the
senior center-
timeline for this is very, very strict. You're gonna be getting at the next meeting the recommendation for the construction company. Leathers, the problem with Leathers is that they need lead time because they have a lot of work going on. So they need to set up a schedule of when they're gonna be out here. I don't know, maybe you can address that with them, George.
Right now, we are in the process. We've already received the bids from the project. We're in the process of evaluating them. And like city manager said, it's going to come to you very shortly. And once we're going, we're going. Contractors be on board, and Leathers has to be put on notice that they're ready to start, and we'll get a scheduled date for them. They have to put us in queue. Because again, they do have a lot of work to, like any company, they have projects that are ongoing. So we need to get this in as soon as possible so that we'll be ready to move when we give them the go.
Whether, which grounds we're gonna use, they need to have that tonight.
Well, they needs to be approved tonight so that they have a direction and they can place the order and get on queue to get it installed.
Sure. Because it's really expensive, it's a lot more than the one we have now. So that's why I was asking, maybe we can wait a little longer.
But
if we can or we can't.
let me tell you, that surface is fantastic. It's way better than what you currently have now, and it'll last a lot longer. I mean, you'll repay it. I mean, if you look at what Omar was talking about, you'll repay it in less than half the time. Then it'll take you to replace the other, the new one. So you'll repay it.
I just want to say that from a safety perspective, this is much safer for the children.
Yep.
I serve on the board of the Early Learning Coalition Foundation, and this is part of what they evaluate all the time in terms of approval and funding that goes to children's early centers and playgrounds. And this is by far much better quality than the mulch or anything wood with wood fibers. So,
But,
yes.
all right, when you're going about the financing, that's when we have monies coming in for the center.
Right.
And then we go ahead, within the financing, the money to replenish into the general
Correct.
fund will be part of that
This,
financing.
all of these costs, this and the Musco light that
Right,
you
right.
approved all of that is gonna be added as part of the
As part of
project
the-
cost when we
Okay.
go out.
I
Right.
just want it clear to everybody,
Yeah.
so
So
that's
that's-
how it's gonna come back in.
Right, that's the recovery for the
Exact-
designated fund
Right,
balance.
right, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, we had discussion, somebody has to make a determination of which way we want to go forward.
Well,
with.
I
Give me a motion and
yeah. Motion to move the 1A option.
Second.
do I have a second? Any further discussion? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Petroneta.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. We go on to other business. 12A, request by Vice Mayor Best
Best?
to
Yes,
discuss the elimination of the umbrella rental fees.
during the council meeting of April 22nd, Councilman Best requested that staff look at the possibility of eliminating all charges for umbrella rentals at the pool. Attached is an email I received from Parks and Recreation Director Omar Luna, in which he feels that this should make it easier for he and his staff while not affecting revenues significantly. Since the New Aquatic Center opened, the average annual revenues from these rentals is about $5,000. If council approves, we can begin immediately, just in time for the summer season. I think the only issue that Omar wanted to address was a way to prevent people from coming in at 7 or 8 in the morning and putting a towel on the chair, going home, and then coming back in the afternoon.
Well, that's up
And-
to him how to run that.
Right.
That-
I will-
That's up to you to run that. I mean, I can't go there. Well, maybe Miss Mitchell can, but I can't go there and help you with that. Neither can anybody up here do that.
Well, me and Kaden have talked about it, so we have a game plan in place, but
Don't give him any towels.
well,
Don't let him walk in with towels that early in the morning.
No, well, I was telling him, do what the hotels do and all that. If a chair is there with a towel for 2 hours, they lose it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
that's kind of what we talked about. You know, where you have to be sitting at least somewhere near the umbrella. You know, if you're in the water for that long, you're probably gonna come out anyway. So, but we have a plan in place. We're gonna see if it kind of how it goes first before we start to really implement any type of policy or procedure to see how we might not have a problem, but just in case we do have a little bit of a plan in place.
Okay.
But
All right.
I thank you for your,
And any extra towels, I know where you can send them.
Omar, is this just the umbrellas or the canopies also?
just the umbrellas.
Yeah, through the chair, if I might, Omar, thank you for your indulgence in this and looking into it, and the manager certainly. And I'd like to cite in chambers tonight the gentleman that was the one that authored this. He's sitting here in chambers with his wife tonight, Mr. Eddie Articolo.
Hey.
At River Cities was the one that recommended this, and I thought about it. I inquired within, looked at it, wondered what the revenues were involving it versus the safety of the UV and what we ought to be doing in terms of protecting our citizens. And I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much.
Good job. Good job. Thank you. Thanks for coming to the meeting. Maybe you could come without being recognized too. Come and support us.
Thank
Can
you.
I have a motion?
Thank you, Omar. Motion to move the item.
Second.
I have a question though.
And you wanted to say something too.
No,
Councilman.
and it's after this.
Okay.
Omar, have you thought about maybe increasing minimal the entrance fee to cover the $5,000?
We have not thought about that. Now that you bring it up, we can.
Minimal,
I mean, we could. I don't know how much the impact would be. I'd probably do some research first to see if we raise the fee versus how many people actually coming in, how much the cost is. To be honest with you, the umbrellas, like I put in the email, is not that they're a problem, but every time because we have them closed. So every time someone comes in to rent them, we have to unlock them and then open them up. So and then we're limited already. Yeah, but you know, sometimes the return and the service could be worth that. But I'll look at the numbers and we'll get back to you and see if there's even if we were to raise up the entry fee a couple dollars per person that come in, see what the difference is.
Dollars, maybe even 25 cents when you have so many people coming in.
That's a good point.
It's worth to take a look at it, 100%. We can do that.
$5,000.
That is a good point.
We'll make it up.
Yeah. To see if we can offset the cost.
Okay. I got a first and second.
You do.
Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Pedrosa.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Thank you, Omar.
Yes.
Take care.
Thanks, Omar.
Have a good night.
If I may, through the chair, I don't have another business, a request, but I'd like to add a request now if I would kind
Well,
of.
let's go to the city. We'll go to the attorney, the manager, and I'll allow you to go first on council, city council.
Okay.
Anything from the city attorney?
Just Mayor and Council, I know you got word we had a hearing before the county's planning advisory board regarding the annexation. If I can just put it bluntly, the handling of that meeting was a train wreck. Not certainly by anybody of the people that spoke from one of the cities, but because Miami-Dade County, despite having a long history of this item, basically put the 4 city applications on an agenda without any kind of historical context or background or sort of joint staff report. The members of the Planning Advisory Board were not aware of the history. Certainly there's been a turnover, and so it was incumbent upon us at different times to stand up, and I mean us, I mean not only Jose Fuentes and myself, but also folks from Virginia Gardens, folks from Medley, other people from my office, and Doral, at different times of individual applications to sort of color in the background. It was contentious, to say the least, and frankly, some of the Planning Advisory Board members, you would think that they're running for office themselves, the way they're pontificating. And forgive me for being so bold to say that. Doral's passed 6-4. Medley's did not go well. It went 10-0 to turn it down. Ours got shot down 8-2, and Virginia Gardens punted. So we were also advised that there were changes to the FEC property, previously all owned by FEC, exempted as a terminal under the 2006 ordinance, and also exempt from ad valorem taxes under various state and federal legislation. Now all of a sudden we come to find out at the 11th hour that some of those properties have been passed on to third parties that are no longer, that are taxable entities, and the county did not disclose that, nor did they disclose that they may not necessarily be operating as a terminal anymore. So we have our work cut out to us to evaluate what to do with those parcels right now. We're talking with our consultant. We're talking with the Office of Management and Budget, and determining when to push this from go forward to the county commission. So we'll have more on this week.
Basically, what the city attorney is talking about is those new warehouses that have been built, and we looked at it, and their taxable value is almost $68 million. That should have been added to our.
You know, if you go by what's going on here, the county didn't want to give that up.
That wasn't there.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what's going on here, the county.
It wasn't there when it
Yeah,
started.
but also now that they have that taxable property, you can understand the logistics. But the other part that was disconcerting after the report I got from manager and attorney is this situation was supposed to go in as a foursome.
Correct.
It wasn't supposed to be evaluated as one versus the other.
Interlocal agreement.
And it's like anything else. We've been going through this since my whole time up here. Yep. We get one way or the other, and one time it's this way, one time it's that way.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I made the colorful analogy that I said. Honestly, I feel like Miami Springs is Charlie Brown trying to kick the football.
That's right.
And the county is Lucy moving that football out of the way. I said that to the Planning Advisory Board
It's
because that's
well put,
exactly
sir.
what we've been like.
You know, it's a shame that they can't even. It doesn't matter one way or another anymore what's going to happen here, but at least they can play. They can play by the same rules that was proposed in 2003 to me when I first became mayor, and as he said, one of them even said that the 4 cities were going for a land grab, when in fact the county proposed this to the 4 municipalities after Doral became a city.
We had to advise them of that.
They had to be told that, and they're making the decisions on what's going on here. It's basically, and he's being kind, but it's a travesty of what they're doing to the city.
There was also allegations being made that somehow one commissioner was behind all this, and they try to make allegations against Commissioner Diaz without recognizing the fact that our commissioner is Rebecca Sosa. So there was so much misinformation on the Planning Advisory Board that that's why we're evaluating what's happening with the FEC properties, but we're also now beginning the due diligence of properly educating or informing the commission of what that meeting was like.
I'm almost thinking that we just ought to bring a resolution here in the near future just to pull out of this whole thing and just be done with it. I think where our best interest is served, Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Mitchell, was in your initiatives relative to the bed tax. I think it makes a heck of a lot more sense than even pursuing this conversation any further.
I've just put it this way, as I said in my interview on the radio the one time, just to give us an answer, yes or no.
Sure.
That's all. Yeah. Just give an answer.
Incredulous, typical county.
Yes or no. Anything else, Mr. Attorney?
That's all, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Mr. Manager, the manager?
That's all.
You have anything to announce?
He's got some.
What, 3 or 4?
Events.
Couple
Okay.
events.
All right.
I just want to remind Mayor and Council that tomorrow is the check presentation by Senator Diaz's office at 11 a.m. at the Senior Center. And that is for the monies that we're receiving from the state. Let's see, on 5/15 is our monthly visit from Representative Congress Diaz-Balart at 11 o'clock in the council chambers. On May 15th is yoga at the Circle from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And again, it's $10 per class after the first class started. On May 21st is a visit from Senator Manny Diaz's office here in the council chambers at 11 a.m. On May 22nd, it's a Wednesday from 4 to 7. We have our Community Shred Day. So the community is able to bring up to 4 boxes of paper free of charge to be shred. May 22nd, I want to remind us that this is going to be our second public workshop meeting for the citywide bicycle and pedestrian mobility study. It's going to be a workshop meeting conducted by the Corradino Group. On May 26th, on Sunday, is our back to school pool party. It's from noon to 5 p.m. and that's Sunday, May 26th. And then we have May 27th at 10 a.m. we have the Memorial Day celebration, and that's it.
With the MC,
With the MC being
Vice
Councilman
Mayor
Ross.
Best.
Yes.
I got one thing as far as the shredding goes. I know that sometimes can we use the big? What date was the shredding?
The shred was the 22nd,
May 20,
Wednesday.
this May 22nd of this
May
month.
22nd.
Can we use the big signs you guys have to put on the circle to let everybody know? Because somehow, I know a lot of people like that and somehow get by them as much publicity as we can for that. And because yours truly, it goes right by me, and if I see that sign,
We put it on the sign.
I'm talking about the big, his
Yeah.
the electronic sign. That when it says auto show, can we use that, you think? Can we use that, manager?
We can use it, but we just need to make sure that they're aware that it's for the residents only.
Yeah.
So anybody who's passing through.
Residents only. All right. I'd like to see that.
Well, just don't put it on the bridge coming from Hialeah. Stick it around
Where?
the corner.
You guys say that, but the thing
In all
is to
fairness,
get it
I
out
mean,
to the residents as much as we can. Okay, that's from the manager. Next time, I want you to write that on the chalkboard, everything that has to be,
Everything that has to
yeah,
be,
be
and
read.
just have it up here?
Yeah. We have, this is City Council's turn, and Councilwoman Zapata would like to speak. You're first.
Okay, so in light of recent activity, I don't know if everyone's aware of, having to do with the Central Business District, I really want to ask this council for consensus to direct staff to bring to us an ordinance with stricter construction criteria. To be perfectly clear, I'm not talking about zoning changes. I mean changes to how something is built, especially when it's going to impact single-family homes. Because we've done something with the downtown, and we have areas that are transitional, that are right next to homes that are considered CBD. So a few items discussed by the Planning and Zoning Board just recently included position of buildings, the parking, a whole gamut of things. Why? Because there are residents living right next to where these buildings are going to be erected. And so I think that it merits staff to bring to us an ordinance so that we have everything very clear and very tight, so that it doesn't affect negatively the residents of Miami Springs. So I'd like consensus of that.
What in the specificity being? I mean, what items that would be
No,
objective?
I'm asking the for something to be brought forward to us.
Okay.
So the staff to work on this, because it's not news to them, because we just had a meeting here last week that the adjustment board met. And so it was, a lot of things came up at that meeting. I try to come to as many of those as possible. And so I just think that it merits staff looking at that and coming to us with some suggestions, because it's not going to be the only one. There's going to be others like this, and I want to be proactive in trying to address that before it gets out of control and a lot of people are upset.
Well, as far as if we have consensus for some proposal to come up, I mean, it's just something to put in the forefront. Doesn't mean it has to be approved, but if there's something that the council person up here wants to pursue, I give my consent.
Mm-hmm. So do I.
You got two. Do I need? That's good enough.
3 is good.
Okay. All right, we go to Mr. Council Petrolonga. Anything from you today? Nothing. Councilman Best, anything from you?
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things. I don't know if anybody's been following this. Remember the green bikes?
Lime.
Lime, sorry.
No, that's the name of the company. I didn't mean it by color.
I think they were orange first, right? Yeah, okay. There was a recent news story, and it really caught my attention. I had to crack up at it. These embargoes, this tariff stuff that's going on, it could put them out of business nationwide because all these things are coming from China, and the tariff coming. I read this article the other day and heard also a piece on it that they could go away altogether because they just can't afford the tariff coming with the import of it all. So, just a small point. Secondly, I don't know if any of you are aware. Some of you might be. The Golden Hawks, the senior high school baseball team, is playing in the regionals. They won the districts recently, and they will be playing the regionals on Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock at Dove at the home field. They're hosting the regionals against Archbishop McCarthy from Fort Lauderdale. So if anybody's available to go out to that, I think you should go out and show up. These guys could easily make it to state. They have that good of a team. They really do this year.
When was it again?
It'd be 1600 or 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. on Wednesday this week.
This Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Bill, you should be out of work by then.
I can make
come,
that one.
come. You can say a few words.
No, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday the 15th.
Maybe they'll let me throw the first pitch up.
They might. That's up to the state because the state is going to be there running.
Maybe I'll say the prayer to start the game since I'm so good at it.
You could do that too, but you start working on start working on it now, though. I really would like to. I would really like to thank Lainey Silver tonight for her. I know we can't speak about this while it's going on, but certainly in retrospect, for her to come up and give that rendition she gave about, that woman does so much in this town for animals. It's ridiculous, and she needs to be somehow not compensated because that's not her. That's not what she wants, and she doesn't even want recognition. She called me during the week and said, I'd like to come and speak on this. I said, bring it. And she was here tonight, and we all heard her. And I don't know if there's some way, and council, we could think about this going forward, that maybe she could partner with code compliance and public works perhaps in some small fashion to go out on cases where there's complaints about animals and help to adjudicate this or to diffuse situations. But the neutering thing, the trap, neuter, and release thing is the way to go. If you have a problem with animals, that is clearly the ticket, not to euthanize them, but to go out and to humanely reduce the population going forward. And that's exactly how to do it. It's the right way to do it, and I think we should support her.
I'm in total agreement with you, and I think the work she does is
it's incredible.
Outstanding.
Absolutely incredible.
All right, then we're going ahead and say, since we're doing a little, we can't talk about, we'll put on, we'll make consent to put on the next agenda.
Thank you, sir.
To go ahead and
thank you, Mayor,
get with her.
Thank you, Mayor, for your indulgence.
If we're not ready for the next agenda.
We will be.
No, but if we're not, I don't want anybody to panic. Get with her and give us some kind of a proposal of what they want to do.
Should I have her call the administration's office?
Yes.
I will.
Okay, and tell her we'll put on the agenda. But if they're not, I don't want it on the agenda if they're not ready to propose something that's solid.
Okay.
We can always go to another meeting. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
But
Thank you.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for your indulgence, sir.
Okay.
I would just like to.
Boy, you're talking a lot tonight. Usually you don't have none.
Somebody's got to say something.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, Marie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. By the way, happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers in the audience, of course. That certainly is in order. And I'd like to announce that we have a new nurse practitioner in Miami Springs. It will be my daughter, Kristen.
Yay!
Congratulations. She just graduated from Barry University with her master's degree in nurse practitioning this past Saturday, and we're extremely proud of her. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Is she living in the city?
Yeah.
She does?
Yeah.
Might go visit her. My left shoulder has been bothering me. Councilwoman Mitchell?
Bill, she don't do massages, Bill.
I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for that. Oh, okay.
Okay. Congratulations, Councilman Best.
Thank you,
on
Council.
your-
Appreciate it.
Your daughter's graduation. That's wonderful. I just wanted to thank Public Works for this past month, the projects that they've done with the Arbor Day, along with the Women's Club. They put together just an amazing Arbor Day celebration and project, and then also the Million Orchids project. It was great to see the Public Works employees up on their bucket trucks handling these delicate little orchids and putting them in the oak trees. It was really, they're great. And the other thing I wanted to just remind everyone, with the summer starting, and Councilman Best, thank you for bringing up the issue with the umbrellas. You know, it's
Welcome.
wonderful that we can promote sun safety. But I'd like to remind everyone that Miami Springs, our aquatic center, has swim lessons available for all ages. And my feeling is no child should grow up in Miami Springs without learning how to swim. We have swimming pools in so many homes. We have canals, you know, bordering two of our borders, our canals. And we have an amazing aquatic center. So I think it should be an initiative in our community that every child that grows up in Miami Springs knows how to swim. And I encourage everyone to take advantage of the swim lessons at the rec center. If there is some sort of difficulty with payment for them, please contact me and let me know. And, you know, I will try to see if there's some way that we can work with some other organization to fund that. And the last thing I wanted to mention is we had the FAA meeting, a FAA workshop at Curtis Mansion, and I think we were all relieved to find out that it doesn't appear to be any impact to our community or to Virginia Gardens.
By the way, thanks for attending that. That was nice of you.
All right, this meeting's adjourned.